Kia ora, gents. This is a last little bit of feedback heading into what will be the last 2 days of school and to complete this assignment. So for this one here, I had a few questions, so I'm just going to clear some of them up. Again, this might be important for you, but do listen the whole way through, as I will touch on some points that'll be important for you over the holidays and leading into exams. Just giving you a little bit of guidance on what to do. So what you can do is, I've gone on the internet and just found some blank, and these are easy enough to search up on Google. Some blank ones, just like I showed you in the last screencast, and they superimpose, say, squares for individuals or yourself, where you're going to pass the ball. It just might help with your layout. Again, I might put this on my class page, but simple, go onto Google, type in blank basketball outline, or courts, full court, half court, and it just might help you with saving you a little bit of time on there from that side. So do that. That'll obviously help with this last part, the two drills, describing in a diagram. Obviously, we'd like you to create your own, but some people said, look, and this will come to the points I'll state and go over clearly again, the drill is clearly linked into your stage of learning. So, as I stated, you need to make sure before you start going in and selecting a drill, you need to make sure the drill is effective for your stage of learning. So, first of all, find out the weakness that you have, and it's got to be a skill or tactic. It can't be something that you can't change or is physiological. It's got to be something that is a skill-based or possibly tactic. So I have to find what our weakness is. It can be different from the one you discussed in task 3. That is fine, right? Particularly if you've done something, as I said, isn't really a skill or a tactic. It must be a skill tactic, because that'll mean you can answer these other questions a lot easier than doing something that isn't one of those. Okay, so explain the stage of learning. So you've got to think, what stage of learning am I at? And what drills will be effective for that. Okay, and think about, if I'm doing a drill, what's going to heavily affect that drill is going to be the type of practice in that drill. So think, are you going to use mass, distributed, whole, parts, or variable in drill? Those are the ones we showed you, and you should have a little bit of all those in there possibly, and explain why. If you're at the associative or the autonomous level, then you might have a bit more of one. Okay, and explain why you're doing it. That's the whole reason. You can't just say, I'm doing this. You've got to explain to us, the teachers, why you're doing that. So then we understand why you're doing it, and you understand the information. Then also link in there the types of feedback that you're going to get. Again, the types of feedback, right, external or internal, all right, and what works best for your stage of learning, and what type of guidance are you going to get, all right? Remember, verbal, visual, mechanical, and so on. And why would it benefit you and your stage of learning? Always coming back to that stage of learning. Then once we know this, that will impact what drill you're going to do. 2 drills. And remember, within a drill, you can have little progressions within it. Okay, don't have too many, but you might have, say, max 3 progressions in it if you want to. I'm going to start off with this, then go to this, then this, and then have a completely different drill as well that might have some progressions in it. Again, that's just showing and you to state what you're trying to achieve in each of those progressions as you go through each one. Think of best case scenario. So again, think of what resources we have at school to run these. And as I mentioned, it's a 40-minute training session. So your first drill might be a shorter one. Might go for 10 minutes, have a break, look at some things possibly around feedback, and then you've got the extra 30 minutes of doing something else. All right, so think about 40-minute lesson. If you're optimal, you're there for the whole period. What would you do for this amount of the drill and the second part of the drill? And remember, the biggest part is relating it to all these different factors we have down here as we go through it. Again, if you've got any questions, ask your teachers, but do be considerate and respect. We're not going to give you much feedback if it's a few hours leading into the final deadline date. You should be in this process now. But do ask us questions. That's why we're here, and we do appreciate those, hence why we're sort of making this video now. But make sure you go back and you can rewatch that screencast from the start. My class, it's 5 p.m. As the other classes. Make sure you're there, that we don't need any excuses around, couldn't exercise the due work, or then worst case scenario, you email it to your teacher and we know what time it's finished as we go through it. And remember, that'll be completely done, the end of your basketball assignment, 20%, and then we'll be able to give the marks back to you when you return to school. And that moves on to my next point. We have finished all the content. Hurrah! All right, you guys are in a mammoth effort. Awesome work. We've covered it all in detail. So now the examination comes around, and it is moving around quite quickly. We've got less than 5 weeks to your examination period. So next term, you come back, you've got 2 weeks of school, right? And then you're moving into your exams, and they run over 2 weeks. Okay. With those exams, in those 2 weeks leading up to your exams, you have basically 9 days, because Labor Day takes 1 day out on the Monday of the second week. Of that period, when we're back, we're going to have probably a large majority of that time possibly doing our practical, assessing your basketball ability for that other 10% of your internal grade. So that doesn't leave us a lot of time in class to do revision. And what I'm getting to, and the point I'm getting to here, is that we already, and my advice to you would be to do some study in these holidays. Think of it, you're going to have, in 6 weeks' time after exams are finished, an extended holiday, the longest one you've probably ever had, all right, in respect to the school time. How could we finish so early? Or you two, in reference to, say, your other friends at other schools that are doing NCAA Level 1 that possibly don't finish until the middle of December. So think, knuckle down over these next 5 weeks. They will rock around real quick. You cannot just wait till the end of the holidays and get back to school and be like, cool, I'm going to start back at school. A lot of you might have sport that'll take up time. You're getting back into the motions of school. You're going to be tired, right? We haven't done it for a while. You're sort of unpracticed. It'll be a bit of shock to the system. Plus, your teachers are going to be overloading you possibly if you haven't done any study with lots of other things, right? And you're like, oh, well, I don't have any time to do this. This teacher's expecting A, B, and C to all be done. Okay, so my advice, start studying in the holidays. You'll be thinking you're crazy, right? The reason for it, it'll reduce a heck of a lot of anxiety heading into the exams. And it's going to make you a lot more relaxed because you've done the work. In particular, study the areas you find difficult now. That might be the stuff we did in Term 1 because it was so long ago. All right. With that, you've got plenty of material online. We will prep up some work for you, and I'll go over that shortly. But you've got here some advices, key in my class I've been doing it and other ones, is mind maps. And what I mean by that is retrieval information. So what you're doing is that you're getting a blank A4 piece of paper or anything around home, and you're writing down what's everything I know about the energy systems and what happens with chronic exercise. All right, adaptations that happen. Write down everything you know. Cool. Then open your books, fill in the gaps of the bits you don't know. Then go to the next topic and the next topic. That's going to really show you what areas you're struggling with. Right, it's all well and good just writing out notes. You feel really confident. Okay, but when you get to the exam, it's all about retrieving that information. The more you do that, right, the more effective it is. And that's the way to sort of study nowadays. Same thing with flashcards. That's retrieval. You're practicing. You're pulling that information out again and again. We don't have any practice exams to give you. Structures are similar to what we've done in previous years, but we will give you some practice questions. We'll have those out by the end of the week. Just some info on the exam. It's 120 marks. It's 2 hours. It's going to be short, long answers, similar to what you've done in other exams this year, middle of the year and Term 1. So refer back to those if you have those exams. Don't think you can just cram. You've got many exams to practice for, and if you really think you've got 2 weeks leading into your exams, there isn't going to be enough time to cover the content for PE, let alone all the other subjects. So do some work on the holidays. Might be 2 hours every day. Might be some days you do 4 or 5 hours and then have 3 days off, then come back to it. As I said, you're going to have a long summer break. Think of that as a massive reward. In the moment, knuckle down towards the end of this week, have a bit of a break, and then get into it next week and the week after. As mentioned here, we've got what I said, retrieval practice. So if I had said everything I need to know about circulatory and respiratory system, so like a mind map that's filled out, you would go on and be like, right, what's everything I know about this? These are the main topics we covered. All right, and you'd write down, right, what's everything I know about aerobic and anaerobic respiration, define them. What's the equation for this one? What's the equation for anaerobic? Temperature control, how does the body control when it's too hot? All right, vasodilate, all right, how do you do that? Radiation, sweating, vasodilated capillaries around the skin, right, and so on. Here we go, what happens to the respiratory system with the immediate exercise. So what happens straight away? Increased stroke volume. And you can see all the other ones that we've got in here. Increased gaseous exchange, increased red blood cells, more blood is carried around. So some of these are immediate and some are chronic, e.g. long-term what is up here, what are the components, different components of blood. You write down everything you know and then fill in the gaps, the bits you don't know. All right, and that'll help you understand what areas you're struggling with first of all, and then because it's, as I mentioned, it's not that effective to read through your notes or watch videos or just write out notes again and again. It's better to interact with it and have that retrieval. So definitely try that one out as we go through it. Just heaps and heaps of pieces of paper, just going through it again and again. Then we have the syllabus that's here. You all got given this at the start of the year. It's your handbook. If you've lost it, we will send out and we'll put this up at the end of the week. So it's a syllabus of content. Again, you've all had booklets this year. I think there's 7 or 8 booklets we've given you that you've worked through, plus the notes. Don't forget the notes that you've been doing the last 6 or 7 weeks in lockdown. That'll be included in the exam. But this one here, and what's effective with this is at the end, we might do this though, but you might have some columns. It's worth going through all the pieces of work at least 3 times. So do I know the functions of the skeleton? You're ticking each one of these. Yep, I've gone through it, I stated it. Do I know the skeleton? Do I know these key terms? Tick, tick, tick. Each time I study it, I'll give it a tick. And the aim is after the next 5 weeks, leading into the exams, as I said, start now. Then you know what you've covered. Because often you could miss a whole booklet out, could have got lost, and you just miss a whole complete section out. And then you find in the exam, you're like, well, what? And you completely forget that we've covered that section. So make sure you go through this. If you lost the notes, come back to us. But again, it's all going to be on GrammarNet, the system. Everything we taught you is on GrammarNet. Just access it. If you find difficulty, try yourself. Then come and see, talk to the teacher. Go through this, give it a tick. We're going to update this. There's a couple of things in here. And as I said, we'll send it out to you for you guys to do and start studying. Any questions, always come back to the teacher. As I said, the exam will lay it out, the percentages of what section, but just note that it's going to cover everything in the syllabus. And it'll be more, we'll go over what percentage of each term we'll allocate towards, but don't miss anything out. You can't just pick and choose and guess what's going to be in the exam. Just revise it all and put yourself in the best position. If you're worried, you've got anxious about the exam, start early. If you need some feedback around how to study effectively or some other resources, go and get in touch with your teacher. All right, all the best, guys, with that assignment, and also study over the holidays. I can't emphasize how important that is to get started early. Thank you very much. See you, gents.